Hello and welcome to the matchup presented by Unibet, coming to you from across the Steelers' digital and social media platforms alongside Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson, who you can hear on Steeler Nation Radio and The Drive. I'm Rob King. Thanks for being with us. The Steelers improved to 4-2 last week thanks to another come-from-behind victory in another one-score game. They're 11-4 in their last 15 games. 9 of those wins have been one-score games, including all 4 wins this year, Dale.
You know, that's a skill to win the close games like that. And, Rob, I looked this up. The Steelers in the last 7 seasons, 59, 30, and 2 in one-score games. That's about, 676 winning percentage.
You wouldn't mind seeing some more 2 or 3 score games?
Sure.
Matt, but, you'll take what you can get here because the numbers have been terrific as you look at the best winning percentage in one-possession games. Look at Kenny Pickett and his record in one-score games.
Right, and the real analytical folks will tell you, oh, that's going to regress to the mean, and eventually the whole league goes, 500 in one-score games. Well, Belichick didn't, Brady didn't, Tomlin isn't, Pete Carroll doesn't with Seattle. I think there's a real skill to it.
Yeah, you see Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes on that list.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Philadelphia's a pretty strong organization. Yeah. It's the same teams that are consistently winning these close games. And as Dale mentioned, there is an art to it.
Yep, and again, maybe for some fans it doesn't pass the eye test because it isn't as flashy. But again, going back to last year's bye.
It's exciting, though.
Yeah, 11 it is exciting. And 11-4 over their last 15 games. It's truly amazing. And when you look at the Steelers' offense going against the Jaguars' defense, I mean, one of the things is just a quick overarching look at this. This is a very, very difficult team to run against.
Yeah, they're good. They're good up front, and they're really built to stop the run. They play in a division with some very good running backs, Taylor in Indianapolis, of course, King Henry in Nashville. So you build your team to be able to stop the run, and that's what they've done here. But they are a little susceptible to the pass when you look at that. And I think when you look at this team, if the Steelers are going to attack them, it's going to have to come through that passing game, particularly Tyson Campbell. Allowing a 108.8 passer rating on passes thrown his way. He's given up 4 touchdown passes this year already. So you'd like to see maybe George Pickens matched up on him a little bit one-on-one down the field.
Okay, we're going to get to your matchups in just a minute.
Okay. I'm jumping
ahead.
Save
some of that
I'm
material.
ready to go with
Save
it
it now. Let's go to Matt. Let's start with you, Matt. And your key is just to be close at halftime. And it would be nice to not have to maybe come from ahead and win a game here instead of having to come from behind and win.
We just had a good discussion about winning tight games and that style of play. And in this particular matchup, I mean, the Jacksonville defense has been very, very good in the first half of games. And getting to Dale's point, they make you one-dimensional pretty quickly as well. And I don't think it's a real secret to say the Steelers' offense has not been putting up a lot of points early in games. So even if you could go into halftime down a score, just don't make it a Niners-like situation. We know this is a much better second-half team than first-half team, the Steelers, particularly on offense.
Okay, so we've established the fact this is a hard team to run against.
Yeah.
You want to be able to stay close. To me, the key when you start throwing the ball is Dan Moore against Josh Allen. I mean, Josh Allen is their one lone really good pass rusher. This isn't a team that gets a lot of pressure, or gets a lot of sacks, I should say. We can talk about pressures, but Josh Allen, in the last 22 games for the Jaguars, when Allen has a sack, they're 8-0. When he doesn't have a sack, they're 5-9. He's forced fumbles in 4 of the last 6 games. I mean, this is a guy who can do some damage, and this is a Jaguar team that forces a lot of turnovers, and Allen is a guy that can really be troublesome. So to me, the key matchup is making sure that he's not the guy getting to Kenny Pickett in this game.
Yeah, and Dan Moore has faced basically, if you went down the list of the league's top edge rushers, he's faced them all in the first part of this season. So, this is just another one on that line, in the line of those. And I'll say this, Matt and I talk about quarterbacks a lot in terms of, ranking quarterbacks and things of that nature. To me, one of the key statistics for a quarterback is, do you turn the football over? And I'm not just talking about interceptions. I am talking about those fumbles that you talked about with him forcing. Pickett's been pretty good at that as well. So you have to value the football in this game.
And Trayvon Walker's another guy. I don't want to dismiss him because he was last year's first-round pick. Mm-hmm. He hasn't gotten a whole bunch of sacks, but Jacksonville does get pressure. They don't get a lot of sacks, but they can have some pressure. And you talk to a lot of quarterbacks. Sacks are obviously painful. They put you in bad situations. Maybe you turn the ball over. But pressure, increasing pressure, all the time pressure, that can really affect how
No doubt.
effective a quarterback is.
And this defense, as you mentioned, is a high-pressure, low-sack group, with the exception of Allen. And Allen's really the best athlete, explosion, speed guy of the group. Walker's a real power player. They'll bump him inside. He is a real force versus the run. So I find that very important. And kind of like what Dale was mentioning, take it a step further, if you just look at every game that Kenny Pickett's been involved in, the ones he doesn't throw any interceptions, their winning percentage is very, very high. Even if he throws one, it's drastically different. So I'm not saying he can't put the ball in harm's way ever. I mean, he's going to take risks. But in a game like this, it's really important.
Well, that's how they've been winning, right?
Exactly.
Control the football,
Yeah.
don't turn it over, allow the defense to make some plays. And maybe in this one, as we circle back to Dale,
There are some places
George
you can do
Pickens
this.
and Deontay
Yeah.
Johnson maybe get involved. And nice to see them both back for Pickett. And boy, didn't that offense look a lot different as Pickett had one of his higher passer ratings of his career.
Yeah, and I think that's what happens when you get both of those guys out there, Rob. And if you look at this Jacksonville defense, Campbell, as I mentioned, has given up 4 touchdowns. On the other side of that, Darius Williams, their other outside cornerback, now he has 3 interceptions this season, but he's giving up 14 yards per catch. So it's kind of a little bit of Marcus Peters there, where it's some, he's going to take some chances and get some interceptions, but he'll give up some plays. And then in the slot, you got Trey Herndon, and he gives up. Teams are targeting him. It's 38 targets, 29 completions, 10 yards per catch, and a 106.2 passer rating when you throw at him. So there are some places here we can have some success. You just have to value the football when you do it.
And we should have mentioned this earlier, Jacksonville takes the ball away a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
They really do.
And we will talk about that more. They're number 1 in the league in takeaways. That's something we'll get to. But I think we've established the fact they're a tough team to run against. We want to see Kenny Pickett throwing the ball, so that leads us to our Yins Chat regular season challenge, which is back. Each week, answer Steelers trivia and make game day picks for a chance to win signed helmets, jerseys, footballs, even a trip to the 2024 draft. New this season, doubling. And the question this week, really interesting. Kenny Pickett, over under 1.5 touchdowns. You'd like to see him throwing the ball against this Jacksonville team, but he's only thrown more than 1 touchdown once in his career.
That was earlier this year.
That was against Las Vegas. So over, under. I'm going to go over because I think they need to go over to win this game. I think he needs to be at 2 or 3 touchdown passes.
Yeah, and the Jaguars have given up 10 touchdown passes thus far this season. So you can be effective against them through the air. Obviously, with they're 31st in passing yards allowed, and we've seen the Steelers break off some long ones this year as well. So and get some run after the catch. So I might lean towards the over in this one.
But it's always tricky because just look at last
only
week,
done it
right?
once.
Like you get the ball in the red zone, and all of a sudden you're inside the 5. There's a difference between being at the 19 and being inside the 5, and the Steelers were able to run it in 3 times last week. You going over or under?
I am going to go over.
Okay.
I think his pass attempts will be higher than usual. That leads to more chances. As Dale mentioned, I think they'll do a nice job of getting Pickens isolated on Campbell, often on the short side of the field. I think that's something they can do well. And you're going to see a lot of zones, so I think you could see a lot of quick hitters to backs, Deontay Johnson, maybe 1 busted tackle gets you that 2nd touchdown.
All right, so the Steelers offense versus the Jaguars defense coming up next. We're going to flip to the other side of the ball. How can the Steelers defense slow down a talented Jaguars offense? We'll let you know when the matchup presented by Unibet continues.
Want to get gear direct from the team? Shop all things black and gold at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline apparel and hats, jerseys of your favorite players, authentic memorabilia, custom gear, and exclusives you can only find here. Don't forget, you aren't game day ready without a terrible towel. The Steelers Pro Shop has everything you need to be part of the legendary Steelers Nation. Come experience the Acrisure Stadium shopping environment or shop online at shop.steelers.com.
Welcome back to the matchup presented by Unibet as we continue to get you ready for the 5-2 Jaguars, the AFC South leaders, visiting the 4-2 Steelers. We talked about the Steelers record going back to last year's by 11-4. Well, the Jaguars are 11-3 going over that time. They've won a playoff game. They've won a division. They've beaten some of the top teams in the league. They've won 4 games in a row now. They won 4 games in, they had that Thursday night game. So they have a long break coming into this one, a long break coming after. I feel like, Matt, they're looking at this game saying, look, this is a notch on our belt. We beat the Steelers. We're letting everybody know, okay, yeah, we beat the Buffalo Bills in London, but we're a legit contender. We're a team that's rising up to face the Chiefs, the Dolphins, the Bills, some of the elite teams in the AFC.
No question. I mean, long winning streaks don't happen in this league very often. If they can start to put one together, that is a statement to the conference, the league. It's a second-year head coach. It's a third-year quarterback, and they have a lot to build around, and there's a lot of promise here. I think this would be a real statement game if they can win it.
And for the Steelers, I mean, look, let's face it, there's a lot of yeah, but people out there among the Steelers fans. Yeah, we're 4-2, but I think some of those yeah buts go away if you beat a team like the Jaguars.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely 100% correct on that. This would go a long way towards, squashing some of that. Bill Parcells says you are what your record says you are. Well, if you win this one, the record says you're 5-2, which means you're a pretty good football team. So it would be a good one to get. It's the start of a 3-game homestand for the Steelers, which, you'd like to get all 3 of those if you can. So it's a very important game.
Okay, so when I look at this matchup, for me, it's a turnover battle. It's not just about the offense, and it's not just about the defense creating turnovers, but each team is +6 in the turnover margin. The Jaguars have forced more turnovers than any team in the league, and so that's something that the Steelers obviously want to avoid. Matt mentioned this earlier. Kenny Pickett, 9-2 when he doesn't throw an interception, 2-6 when he does. The Steelers are tied for the 4th fewest giveaways with 6, but they want to be able to take the ball away from a Jacksonville team that does a great job taking it away, but they can be turnover prone a little bit as well.
No question. I mean, Lawrence is young and extremely talented, but they're still kind of learning the way the league works. Red zone, their receivers have dropped a fair amount of passes. They've had their share of errors on offense, and another thing we just know about the Steeler team is when the defense creates splash, tackles for loss, sacks, interceptions, fumbles, etc., they're really hard to beat. When they don't, it can be a long day.
And that Jacksonville wants to be able to control the ball, control the clock. They have explosive elements on their team, but Travis Etienne has really become their go-to guy, and slowing him down is your number 1 key matchup.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, he leads the NFL in touches. He's got 700 yards from scrimmage through 7 games, so he's 5th in the league in terms of total yards. He's really kind of turned into Christian McCaffrey light here. He's not as good as McCaffrey, but they use him in a similar fashion. He's got 504 rushing yards and 196 receiving yards, and if they can, they will just ride him. If you can't stop the run against this team and don't stop the run against this team, now all of a sudden you're opening yourself up. Then you give Lawrence the opportunity to run some play actions. They'll run screens to Etienne, and if you don't stop him, you're going to be in for a long day.
And the Steelers have not been able to stop a whole lot of running games. They're 28th in the league, Matt, against the rush. And to Dale's point, Etienne, there's McCaffrey right there. Those are the 2 guys you're looking at, the top 2 touch leaders in the NFL. Pretty amazing. Etienne will be used in the passing game, Engram in the passing game. We know about the receivers, but if you can get the running game going, all that opens up for Lawrence. And this is a big test for a Steelers defense. It hasn't been that great at stopping the run.
Yeah, with all respect to Lawrence, who I think is on the cusp of stardom for sure, Etienne is the straw that serves the drink for this offense right now. And you see that with the touches. True every down backs in this league are becoming rarer and rarer, and that's exactly what this guy is. And then the last component that we didn't mention with him is he has extreme speed. So it's been a while since they've allowed that long run to Ford McCaffrey, but if you miss a tackle, it could be over quick.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
He does have explosive speed. So then your key okay, now the Steelers have stopped the run. They forced Jacksonville to throw. Your key is that front and kind of containing Lawrence, who obviously can beat you throwing the ball, but he's on his way to a career high in rushing yards as well.
Yeah, and I don't think people look at him in that light either. He's 6'6", he's long, he's got the flowing hair, and you don't think of him, boy, he's going to beat us with his legs. But only the Giants quarterbacks and Lamar Jackson in Baltimore are scrambling a higher percentage of the time. And what that is a called pass play. Well, it's not there, take it and run. So if you play a lot of man coverage, he recognizes that very quickly. And the Steelers do tend to play a lot of man coverage, and he'll beat you with his legs, slide, pop up, first down, and those can break your back.
Meantime, as far as a stat, and again, you see all these stats, you can find them everywhere, pickable throws, right? So he is among the worst guys at pickable throws when there's pressure. They also, if you can stop Etienne, stop that running game, contain Lawrence as far as the running lanes for him and the scramble lanes for him, as we're seeing here, and force him to throw with pressure in his face. Well, of course, no quarterback loves that, but Lawrence hasn't been great in that as far as, maybe leading to some potential turnovers here.
Yeah, and that's, again, it goes back to our initial conversation. You have to win the turnover battle in this game, and the Jags will turn it over. They've turned it over 10 times this year. They do lead the league at 16 turnovers, and they're only +6. That means they've turned it over 10 times themselves, but most of that has been fumbles to this point, 7 fumbles. If they can get Lawrence to throw some of those, as you said, pickable balls and then catch them, well, maybe this is a game we finally get the Minkah Fitzpatrick interception.
Well, really big game. Yeah, that would be great. That'd be wonderful to see. It's in there somewhere, right? He's going to start making some big plays after leading the team with 11 tackles last week. So big matchup. The AFC South leaders, the Jaguars at 5-2, taking on the Steelers, who are 4-2. One of just 3 games in which both teams are over 500 this week. The 1 o'clock kickoff at Acrisure Stadium coming your way on Sunday. For Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson, I'm Rob King. Thanks for watching The Matchup, presented by Unibet.